dozens of us. Dozens!
Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and I'm joined here with Spencer, who is our resident Boltyn expert, and we're here to do an F tier Friday, or D tier Friday, as Spencer would argue. So Spencer, I brought in as our kind of like resident Boltyn expert from when we lived in Portland. So Spencer, why don't you give us a little introduction, walk us through the deck, and kind of tell us all about Boltyn.
Yeah, hi. I'm Spencer. I'm a PDX based player. I've been playing since just before Tales of Aria release. My very first armory was a sealed Monarch event, and I went 3-0 on Boltyn, and I was like, this is the coolest hero ever. And then I slowly discovered he was F tier,
Yeah.
especially around that time. So I played Lexi for a while, and I've kind of bounced between heroes outside of that, but Boltyn has always kind of remained, the pet deck, the ride or die. So yeah, I've been playing Boltyn a long time, and I really love the hero. Excited to be here and maybe be able to convince Aurora that Boltyn is maybe not an F tier deck, maybe more of a D tier deck. C tier or higher, I don't know if I can promise that. But
he's playable, is what you're arguing.
The deck, you can register the deck, and
Yeah.
there are certain matchups that'll show up that you're like, hey, I might actually be favored in this.
Yeah, I remember when you were crushing me on Lexi in PDX. That was a fun time.
Right? Yeah, the Lexi days.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone misses those days.
Yeah.
Anyone who says they don't miss peak Lexi is,
It's
they're
lying.
lying to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
But
walk us through the deck a little bit. So is
yeah.
this kind of like your own homebrew, or was this kind of like inspired by anyone?
This is a pretty stock list, I would say, for the most part. I'm sure some Boltyn players might disagree on a couple card choices, but for the most part, I'd say this is one of the closer like good stock Boltyn lists that you can find right now. So I have it separated in all the equipment, the main board, and then the sideboard. So we'll just look at the equipment first, and then we can just move down. Let's start with your weapon. Raiden is the reason to play Boltyn. It's basically like a lightsaber,
Right.
and it's one of the coolest weapons they've ever printed, and I think is like half the reason that you play Boltyn is because you like Raiden.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Raiden is the card that gives us payoff, or is the most frequently the card that gives us payoff for IPing ourselves with charge. And
Yeah.
I say that kind of jokingly. I think I think there's a big misconception about Boltyn from people who don't play him very much, that charge is just an IP penalty, and I think maybe a couple of years ago that was true, but LSS I think has done a pretty good job of shoring up the cost of charge.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Raiden, he's the reason we're here.
And this is a mono Raiden list as opposed to like sabers, right?
Yeah, and we can talk a little bit about sabers later and why it's not in this list. I'm a bit of a sabers defender, but I haven't wanted to play it in a while.
Fair enough.
But then we'll move to the let's talk about the chess piece.
Sure.
This list has two main chess pieces: Soulbound Resolve and Tunic.
Nice.
And Boltyn is really cool in that his game plan and the way he wins varies a lot based on his chess piece. So Tunic is the enabler for one of your most powerful cards via the Vanguard. The Boltyn specialization. One cost in Boltyn are quite bad, and via the Vanguard is one of if not the only one cost Boltyn card that you actively want to put in your deck and play around. And Tunic really enables that, to charge a bunch of cards, set up a big turn, and not have to pitch any resources for it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet,
so
especially when you get Tunic on a 5-card hand with V.
Yeah, exactly. So Tunic is what enables our big via the Vanguard hands, and in a lot of matchups, that's what we need in order to win.
Right.
The other chess piece we have access to is Soulbound Resolve, and this is just a really, really efficient piece of equipment, especially with the alternative methods to charging that have been slowly added to Boltyn's card pool. And this card is what enables us to basically keep up in these numbers matchups. And like, used to be like the Zen matchup. Soulbond
Right.
Resolve was one of the cards that helped us, keep up with Zen's numbers. Not for long, but this really helps us keep up with Aurora's numbers, which is actually like a surprisingly good matchup for Boltyn
Oh,
in a lot of
really?
cases. And Soulbond Resolve does a lot of heavy lifting in that matchup.
Pretty sweet.
Um, yeah, so the two chess pieces are hugely enablers for Bolton's game. The other pieces of equipment we can just kind of breeze through. The Helm of Halo's Grace and the Warpath of Winged Grace. These are
Oh, gotcha.
your cards that let you charge whenever you defend, which pair really well with the Soulbond Resolve and give you a lot of benefit from that.
Nice.
Warband of Balana is a headpiece that lets you charge
So you got like
whenever.
four headpieces here. Like
Yes.
what's kind of like the high level kind of like difference between all of them?
So two of them are pretty simple. Halo of Illumination is Kano.
Yeah, makes sense.
Spell Void 2 is really strong.
Oh yeah.
Kabuto is for primarily the warrior mirrors.
Used to probably be for Enigma
Bolton,
as well, maybe.
yeah. It could help with Enigma a lot. And there's probably an argument maybe into Ira if they're on dual threat or something like that.
Makes sense.
And then Helm of Halo's Grace and Warband as your two primary options. Warband is a great get you out of jail free card that lets you charge and is really helpful in longer matchups where your deck may get thinner, your density of charge cards may get thinner,
Yeah,
and like some of these like tempo based matchups, like if you draw a brick hand, this can really bail you out.
makes sense.
While the Helm of Halo's Grace enables one of the highest like single card value hands that Bolton can do, which is defend with this, charge a yellow card, draw a card, and then play Saving Grace,
Oh
his
yeah.
defense reaction. So essentially, you're using a piece of equipment and one card in exchange for a whole bunch of value.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that lets you really keep up in a lot of aggro mirrors and game matchups where the game might be a little shorter.
Nice.
Um,
Sweet.
and then outside of that, you have Null Rune and you have Snaps.
Makes sense.
And
Just for matchups
yeah,
where I assume you don't have the opportunity to maybe block with your legs or your hat, or I guess these are no rune goes, right? So I guess
mhm,
maybe matchups where you just want arcane barrier, I guess. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, with the main board, we don't have to dive too much into this. We'll read these cards a little bit more when we draw them. Most of these are going to be the standard Bolton cards that you see in almost every list.
Yeah.
The one thing I will point out is Warcry Bologna, his new attack reaction. So this was kind of printed as you could argue that it's like was intended to be Enigma tech, even though it wasn't really that good into Enigma
Right.
because you can
Yeah.
use it to clear their board. But the card with Enigma out of the meta, it's still a 0 for 4 yellow 3 block on a Lumina turn, and so that is still in the list. So even though it's easy to label this card as like Enigma tech,
Yeah. The
it's
effect is
it's
just very strong, right?
yeah, just a +2 on Raiden is really solid, and the effects can also come into play into like Aurora, warrior mirrors,
Yep.
and other matchups that like to swing their weapon a lot.
Pretty sweet.
Uh, and then in the sideboard here, just some extra cards to kind of shore up your weaknesses in certain matchups. Probably the spiciest things in here are the 3 of Tenacity.
Oh
I
yeah.
really like Tenacity, especially there's a like decks are running 12, 15 D reacts right now,
Yeah. Exactly.
and they have a lot of equipment, and Tenacity on a Via the Vanguard turn can be really sweet, and you can tutor for it with a Beacon of Victory, your
Ooh,
attack reaction
that's pretty spicy.
tutor. So you can, if you're holding onto the Beacon of Victory and you see them start throwing out their equipment, then great, Tenacity just got a lot better. And then there's one of Remembrance in the sideboard right now, and this card is a little bit of a it's a the percentage points it's going to get you are not high, but it may happen where you can get your Luminas back and just get over the you know the health lead and defensive lead that decks like Florian are gonna put in front of you.
Yeah,
So yeah,
makes sense.
quick overview of the deck. Any questions about any cards you're seeing here? You feel
It looks pretty stock standard for a Boltyn list. I know that like maybe we want to touch on sabers like a little bit before we kind of get into the
sure.
games, but like I think that like for the most part this is more like an aggro kind of slanted Boltyn list as opposed to like a combo slanted Boltyn list, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there are definitely some matchups that like I wouldn't call it a combo, but in order to win you really have to play around a double Lumina
Yeah.
turn, and while it's not necessarily a combo, getting two Luminas off like later in the game after you've forced some armor out of them is an insane amount of value that's going to let you keep up into lists that would normally outvalue you, just like with 0 for 4s and stuff, because Boltyn does not have access to as many 0 for 4s as pretty much any other deck is going to have access to.
Nice.
Um,
Cool.
so yeah, in terms of sabers, for anyone watching who doesn't know, the sabers combo specifically is a pretty small package you can add into essentially any Boltyn deck that allows you to play for either a 1 turn kill or a 1 turn get them almost dead and have 12 soul and kill them with like a really huge beacon of victory.
Yep.
Historically, that list has been Boltyn's like the best way that Boltyn keeps up with aggro decks. In the past, like it was one of the ways he could beat Lexi. It was I think still really good. I loved running it into KO and just other aggro decks that have popped up over time. But recently, with some of his new armor pieces and additional ways to charge, um, he has been able to shore up the his numbers a lot, playing versus aggressive decks with Soulbond Resolve and more blockers, and it's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit, in terms of its how frequently it's added into these decks. And another real like shot in the foot for it was pitch stacking like a really huge Sabers combo was one of the best ways to beat other warriors like
Mhm.
Axe's Dory and Kassai. And whenever they printed Kabuto, they kind of they killed that.
Yeah.
Other warriors just run Kabuto into you, and now you can never ever pitch stack combo them. It's just impossible. So I was pretty bummed when I saw Kabuto printed because of how it affected Boltyn. But
Yeah.
it's one less reason to run sabers, and a lot of people see sabers as kind of an unfun style of Boltyn.
Gotcha.
So yeah, maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, probably fair that you shouldn't be able to deal like 40 damage even if you just like IP constantly, but yeah, it
I
makes
guess
sense.
so.
Yeah. Do you so like what do you think is like keeping Boltyn down right now in terms of like his meta like what is he like really good into now and like what is he kind of like struggle into? I feel like maybe like assassin and fatigue or maybe concerns, but I'm not entirely sure.
So, admittedly, I have kind of skipped this most recent ProQuest season just because of a lot of busy stuff with life.
Yeah.
So personal experience in terms of Boltyn, going into this post Enigma and Zen meta. I don't have a ton of on the ground experience, but a couple things I know for sure are Florian is a horrendous matchup. Um,
Pretty bad.
Flo- yeah, Florian is really, really tough. They run so many D reacts. They have tons of ways to block you, to delay the game. They play small hands better than you do. It's just really, really hard.
Yeah.
Florian is by far going to be Bolton's biggest gatekeeper in the meta right now. Um, so outside of that, like Jarl is a pretty scary matchup. If historically, Bolton's pretty decent into Guardians, but the Ice Guardian added on there can make things pretty tough for him.
Yeah.
Um, one Frostbite like
It
really
can
really
ruin
really
a
cripples.
basically an entire turn, right?
Yeah. One Frostbite can be um, a time warp for Bolton. It's pretty tough. Um, the other warrior that's pretty becoming more and more prevalent. Fang is really hard for Boltyn, and Fang definitely takes the W in most warrior mirrors for Fang versus Boltyn. Um, so uh, I think those three heroes are like what I'm sometimes most worried about when I'm sitting down at an event. Outside of that, like if we look at assassins, Boltyn has historically like been pretty good into assassins.
Okay, gotcha.
They can have a hard time blocking him. I'd say the primary exception is CYB new.
Yeah, that
But
seems
I'm not.
brutal.
Yeah, and really any CYB deck, Boltyn just doesn't have the gas for it. Um, but me personally, I'm not really sure where news or what direction people are taking new right now post Zen and Enigma. If a lot of news are still running CYB, then Boltyn doesn't want to see that. But if more news are like on the mark, like on kind of more stock lists or the more like mark focus lists, I think Enigma does. Boltyn has a pretty good shot into those decks,
Yeah,
and you're not super unhappy. They can't run Siren's Call into you, which is really nice.
that is pretty nice. I hate that card so
Yeah,
much. From what
yeah,
I've seen, like a lot of new lists are running like not CYB, but just a very defensive package to deal with Aurora right
yeah,
now, which probably that changes after Aurora leaves, right? But yeah, new
yeah,
lists have been getting very very tanky. It almost kind of feels like you're playing as like a more disruptive Florian kind of. But yeah,
mhm,
cool. Would you like to go ahead and grab some games? So I'm
yeah.
still unconvinced that he's above F tier, but I'm willing to give him a shot here. So I have you to coach me through it. I think we can at
Cool.
least probably eke out at least a couple wins here. So yeah, let's try to get some games.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, we got a
So
Kassai.
yeah, we can play this.
All right, first or second?
Um, versus Kassai, we are going to be on Tunic. Let's go. Honestly, I'm not sure. Let's go first.
Okay, let's do first. So we want Tunic, and then let me see if we have a Kassai. Do we have just a generic warrior board?
I don't think we do,
Okay.
but this one's pretty easy. For headpiece, let's be on Warband.
Oh,
Or sorry, we can be on Kabuto. I forget.
okay. Yeah,
It's a
sure.
warrior. We'll be on Snaps.
Okay.
A-
Iron Song
and then for
good.
the main, yep.
Oh,
And then for the main board, we want to get Bolting Blades in here.
sure.
We want to get Tenacities in here.
Yep.
And then for 7 cards remaining, let's get Take Flight.
Okay, I think we have 3 cards remaining, unless we want to fat deck a little
Oh,
bit.
oh yeah, yeah. So the last option we have here is getting the Valiant Thrusts. And I think going above 60 with Boltyn can be rough because it can throw off your charge
Ratios.
counts.
Yeah.
But in this case, let's just get the Valiant Thrust in here. That
Okay.
the A 1 for 7 is really good,
All right.
especially into decks that block.
Yep. Look pretty good.
All right, and this looks good to me.
Cool. All right. Let's start it off. So let me see if I can see the play here first. So I feel like the most important thing for Bolden is just getting charge early. So my immediate thought is we just maybe send one of these engulfing or bolt of courage, charging the banneret, and then maybe set up like E-Strike or bolt of courage in arsenal. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. The card you use to charge is not going to hit this turn, so you know that for sure. So
Right.
you want to use what you want to attack with whatever one you don't want next turn. Um,
I feel
and
like bolt
then
is better in general, right? Or not the case.
into a deck that can block you really good,
Mhm.
like Kassai can, Bolt of Courage loses a lot of value.
Okay.
People are sometimes more inclined to let the engulfing hit,
Gotcha.
um, because they may misvalue how good charge is. So yeah, we'll charge the Gallantry. We'll
Cool.
set up that quicken for next turn.
Sounds good. And I'm assuming that we're not like even if they block. I'm assuming they're not going to block with an attack here, but I assume we probably don't give a go again or anything. Just
Yeah,
get that charge in.
right.
Makes
Now
sense.
the only other like thing we could have considered here is pitching a card to Iron Song versus just to get more cards out of hand and get closer to
Oh
the
yeah.
cards you want to. So I'd probably look at arsenaling the engulfing here.
Okay. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, E Strike is like can be really good, especially if it lines up with Quicken and stuff. But early on in the match, when you don't have a bunch of soul to spare, like now, it
Mhm.
loses a bit of value. So we are definitely a deck that blocks, especially into a deck like Kassai, where we want to set up like large, take our 2 card hands and then set up a large turn.
Okay.
So we can definitely consider our best blocks here.
Maybe like take flight since the resources don't really work with it. I feel like we can just save take flight for the second saber maybe, just because like this
Um,
one's probably not coming in
yeah,
for too much.
I think the best line we're looking at here is blocking with 2 cards, attacking with engulfing, and then arsenaling our best card.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm
we'll
probably
see
just gonna
how.
let this go through and then see what they do on the second swing.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, second swing coming in for 4. Like maybe we could just give them like we have E strike, so I'm thinking like maybe we try to like E strike take flight and then maybe just block with an attack reaction so we're not buffing the saber. I don't know. What do you think about
Uh,
that?
yeah, I think blocking with the war cry is definitely the best card in our hand to block with, and just taking 1 damage here and going into our turn with this hand gives us a lot of options and flexibility.
I think that makes sense. We are giving him a
Yeah,
vigor, but like I think that's kind of whatever.
I'm interested to see how much Kabuto value we can get in this game.
I feel like if we can catch him on like maybe a blood on our hands turn, I feel like we can get a decent
Right.
amount.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we want to start this? We could maybe do. I'm thinking we maybe like try to end on E strike. So maybe we start with the engulfing light first, charging take flight, and then maybe just like E strike the cataclysm back in the deck or something like that.
Yeah, I think that line sounds really good.
Cool. Just get the soul up, and then eventually just try to outvalue him that way. I think makes sense.
Yeah, so ending a turn with E-Strike draw card on Boltyn can be very, very swingy.
Oh really?
Mostly because of your bannerets, the Banner of Courage and the
Ah,
Banner of Gallantry.
makes
Um,
sense.
Drawing those cards off of an E-Strike is really abysmal. Outside of those 6 cards, and I think we've seen one of them,
Yeah,
um, it, drawing a card to end a turn is pretty decent.
I think
We can
we
get
got.
the
Oh sorry, what's
we
up?
can get the we can get the Raiden swing in here.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, let me. Is it so the rate and swing? Oh yeah, we get to swing it for free. We don't have to have it buffed by anything. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And Raiden here pretty like predictively either like but very reasonably might take a card out of their hand, which is always fine.
Yep, and then we'll give it goes.
Sweet. We'll take every point of damage we can get into a deck like Kassai. Oh, okay.
Not much damage there, but we still get
Yeah.
Easter egg draw card, which is nice. Work Cry seems kind of okay-ish. I feel like we need to. Do we need to basically just try to combo this with Lumina? Is that kind of
Yeah.
the goal?
So, oh, nice, very cool. We got a spirit in our hand. That is
Ooh,
a great pickup. Yeah, so Lumina will definitely help a ton into this matchup, but your win condition in this matchup specifically is going to revolve more around via the Vanguard.
okay, gotcha. I'm kind of tempted to block with Kabuto here because we're getting at least 5 value face up, if not more. What are your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I could definitely see that. We probably aren't going to be using more than 2 cards to attack on this turn.
Okay.
It's going to be really soul hungry for us to like charge and then give it go again and swing Raiden and in on a card.
Oh, so maybe we do just
So
want to like not use it here since we want to block.
I think we can just uh, go to blocking and save the Kabuto.
Okay,
I think I would put a card in front of this, probably like the engulfing is
sure.
what I would look at.
Okay, that sounds good.
We're gonna take a point of damage, and then on the next swing, we could full block it, drop the spirit on our turn, and
Hmm.
pass. You don't have to charge the spirit; it's still a 0 cost action.
Right.
Um, so if we wanted, we could just put 2 cards in front of this. Unless they have a react like a in the swing or something, we'll take 0. We can drop spirit on our turn and see where that gets us.
Okay, so you're
Um,
liking the double block here, or do you like the extra charge? I guess it doesn't really matter. Like we're still not gaining any soul if we charge Irina, right?
right, exactly, yeah. So I think I lean towards the double block.
That kind of makes
We
sense.
definitely do have to think about like our red charges and our threat density. So like blocking with 2 red charge cards doesn't feel like amazing, but like you said, I'm not getting any soul if I keep one of those cards. I'm
Right.
just getting the spirit out, and they're probably just putting a max taking 1 damage.
That makes sense. All right, so we got a V turn with our tunic up, which is quite nice.
So yeah, definitely, we're very happy to see this V. This probably isn't going to be the turn that we send it, because we have the Warcry Balana in our arsenal,
Hmm.
and no Lumina to pair with it.
Right.
Um, so sending the V this turn is not going to be a ton of value,
Right.
but we are very happy to get it in our arsenal. Um,
So how do we get in our
Now,
arsenal if we have Warcry though?
so we'll probably have to accept a pretty below rate turn.
Yeah,
You do that pretty often as
that's
Boltyn.
fair.
Um,
So I assume we're
where
just not
where
blocking this, right?
we could put the Courageous Steel Hand in front of it, but I mean that math is we could either
It's
block with it for 2 or
it,
maybe send it for 3.
it's pretty bad.
So
Yeah. I don't know. I
yeah,
feel like I'd rather just have it for 3.
yeah. If Courageous Steel Hand was printed this year, it would be a 3 block. That
Probably. Yeah.
Courageous Steel Hand, whenever Monarch was printed, it's the only
They were
warrior
scared.
card that blocked 2. So I will always be a little resentful over Courageous blocking 2.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah,
just letting this go through.
yeah.
Feels a
So
little bit weird to keep this hand, but we probably just need to get the V in Arsenal and try to set up for a big turn, right?
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
cool. So let's
Okay.
maybe start by charging Beaming for auto and then give it go
Yeah.
again. Seems good.
Yeah. Accepting bad 4/5 card hands as Boltyn sometimes just to minimally advance your game plan is sometimes what you got to do.
Yeah,
So we can maybe save the Courageous,
for
just
Raiden.
to like, yeah, surprise Raiden, and
Sure.
or yeah, that's probably fine. They
Yeah,
they may play around instant speed Lumina on our Raiden. We are definitely kind of bluffing a Lumina here with the Spirit out,
yeah.
and so we may see them overblock. Um,
Hmm.
but let's just send it and see how much damage we can squeeze through.
Right. Seems below rate, but seems
Yeah,
passable, I
definitely.
guess. Yeah. All
We squeeze some damage unless they have a sync or something.
right. Now
Okay.
sync is pretty good.
So far, I'm decently happy to have 13 points of damage on the field here.
Yeah.
Um,
They definitely still
it's
have a lot
definitely
of
not
armor, but
okay. Ooh, we have a very decent looking turn here.
so what's the plan next turn? Are we gonna like V maybe charge like Saving Grace and Tenacity and then go for a huge Lumina or something?
So the with V, the important clause on V is that the cards you charge have to be light cards in order to
Oh,
get the
okay.
buff.
Gotcha.
So we are
Interesting.
very likely looking at
Charging like
double
saving.
charging.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So
Uh
that will give us a yeah. We can think about this block real quick.
I don't
Um,
think there's really a ton.
Yeah,
Kabuto?
Kabuto is really the only consideration here, but I think we'll still be able to find more value out of it.
Yeah. Maybe just saving it for the blood on our hands or whatever.
Yeah.
Which they got a decent amount of copper already, so it's like pretty likely they have
Hmm.
one coming up. Right, Blade Runner is fine.
So after we do this turn, we should be in a much better place, depending on how much of it goes through, because we are ideally going to hit with Lumina twice and get some soul.
Fingers
And
crossed. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. All right, let's rip it.
okay. Yep, let's do it. The one option we have here after we send the V, you can go ahead and send the V, is using our snaps for go again. Um, snaps basically just reads, oh, there we
Oh,
go.
that was weird.
Snaps basically just reads like gain 1 soul. Um, but in this case, we probably just want to use our soul to give it go again and
Okay.
save the snaps for more of a, a get out of jail free card
Okay.
situation.
Shelter here. I think it's pretty good for us, especially when we're coming in with Illumina next.
Yes, we're happy to see that shelter, and we're happy to see our tenacity just got +2 damage
Oh yeah.
because of Dynamo plus.
So now we've
All
flashed
right.
in our Lumina, right?
Yep, exactly. That's going to give us an action point.
It's pretty sweet. We don't have to use any soul, which is also very nice.
Steel Blade Shot? No. Ooh, okay. We do lose Illumina off the top. That kind of
That's a
sucks.
little rough. All right, so I
Yeah.
guess we're just sending in
But
with another one.
so we'd be happy. Okay. Looks like they don't want to commit any blocks here.
So we
We
maybe
still are
just.
gonna send
Oh, we're still sending it. Okay.
Tenacity is still gonna be a 0 for 6.
True.
Because of the V buff. So yeah,
All
we're
right.
still pretty happy to send it.
We got Light the Way. Pretty decent.
Yeah.
Not too bad a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, and the spirit really helps like us play around Kabuto because they have to predict that we have the Lumina in order to get the Kabuto to turn off
Right.
our second Lumina swing.
Yeah.
So
Makes
pretty
sense.
fortunate that we saw the spirit so early here.
Pretty solid turn.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
hand
So
feels a little bit lackluster. I guess we have
yeah,
the
so
Valiant Thrust.
yeah, Take Flight Valiant Thrust is one of Bolton's best 4-card hands.
Oh, really?
It's like just in terms of like the value you get from it because you get Take Flight for 4, Raiden for 3, into Valiant Thrust for 7.
All right, well, we got a Blood on our hands turn here, which Kabuto was
Okay.
probably going to hose pretty bad.
Yes. Yeah, we're very happy to see what's going on here.
I wonder what their plan is here. I guess they can, like... This feels pretty bad, but, like... All right,
Yeah, I mean,
this feels pretty bad for them. For us, it feels really good.
yeah, right. I think we could consider putting the Iron Song Versus in front of it as well. It'll just slow down their next like Blood in Our Hands turn.
I think that makes sense. Maybe just get a
Preventing
little bit
Eon
of the
Hit
armor
proper.
usage. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, Kabuto.
Oh, Kabuto. I wonder if they forgot. That's
Yeah.
a little
Okay.
sad.
So
Alright.
when I first saw this hand, my Bolting Blade is one of your biggest like win conditions versus defensive decks because you can wait for a Via the Vanguard to show up and then send a
Okay.
big turn. But because we were able to keep this whole hand, Take Flight Valiant Thrust is just really, really solid.
Alright, charge the Illuminate. So I assume it's take flight into Raiden into Valiant Thrust.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
solid. Definitely not too bad. Take flight I feel like is also really nice because we're not having to use soul on the go again. I feel like
Yeah,
it's quite solid.
yeah.
Alright.
I mean, a couple of years ago, like Take Flight. I mean, I wouldn't even say a couple of years ago. Take Flight is a surprisingly fairly contentious card,
Oh, really?
because 1 for 4, you have to charge a card. Is a
Pretty
pretty
bad
rough
stat.
value
Yeah.
proposition.
Right.
Yeah, but like just Soul is so important to the deck, and it's okay. I was like, are they going to 1? What is
It's
happening?
pretty
Okay, there we
scary.
go. Yeah.
We got a decent life lead here though. I think we're in pretty good shape. Okay,
Wow.
nourishing is a little unfortunate. I think we're
I
just
guess we should have.
dealing. Yeah, maybe we should have saved a little bit of that block, but like I think
I don't think
maybe.
either of us were playing around nourishing.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
fair
haven't
enough.
played versus Kassai in a while, so it wasn't even on the mind.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um,
What are we doing? I guess there's not really a reason to block this, but there's also it feels like there's not really a reason to send cards into their 5-card hand. I guess.
yeah, this is an interesting hand, because we could, engulfing charge and then use courageous, try to make a hit, but then we're stuck with an E strike in our hand.
Yeah.
Um, we could just arsenal it and move on.
Arsenal
Like you
E
said, there's
strike.
no, yeah, because we do still have snaps up, so E strike is a little bit better.
Okay.
But if we wanted to conserve some health, we could, block with a 3 block, charge off 2 cards and arsenal, and
Okay.
try to set up a little bit.
So you
I
just
think that's kind of where, yeah,
you just throw a random 3 block in front of it. Probably fine.
yeah, yeah. That's where I lean.
Okay.
Our tunic is about to be on 2. We're gonna send 2 cards, arsenal, and then our tunic will be on 3, and we're
All
pretty
right.
happy about that.
So do you not like sending the E strike here versus like charging? I feel like I don't know. I feel like we almost
Yeah,
kind of have enough soul to some extent, but I'm not sure.
yeah. That's a great point. Sending E strike for 7 here is definitely a decent line.
And then we could maybe
And
Arsenal Steel Hand for surprise lethal or something.
so the only consideration with arsenaling Steel Hand is if we draw another Via the Vanguard, we'd be much happier to have an attack in our arsenal
Okay.
rather than a reaction.
Okay.
Um,
I can see that. So
so
maybe we
I'm
just keep the engulfing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it will, maybe it won't happen this game, but it will happen where, you'll draw a hand of, a courageous and arsenal and then 4 non-charge cards.
I think
And
it makes sense.
here,
Yeah.
you know,
Cool. All right, we
we've
got
been
two
able to
cards
keep them
out.
off of Dynamo, which is awesome.
Yeah, they're gonna probably at least get one more Dynamo,
Mhm.
I imagine. But like, we got them pretty low.
He does still have that Kabuto lurking around.
Yeah,
So I would assume maybe the next time we save a big hand, he's probably just gonna,
throw
uh,
Kabuto in front of the first thing.
yeah.
Makes sense. All right, so going to 3 here, we get the remaining armor, and they still have Kabuto up.
Okay, this is a really interesting hand. I'm one that I'm fairly happy to see.
Okay, interesting. I assume we're probably not blocking this first swing just to see what they have, because I feel like normally against Kassai, you're almost never getting buffed on the first swing.
Yeah, I would say so.
So we got at least one Blade Runner, probably some more stuff. Let's see. All right, nothing more is interesting. All right, another swing. So I feel like the Warcry keeping this is almost a risk, but we can always charge it. But I feel like Bannerit's also the card we want to charge.
Yeah, so the I'm trying to think if there's a world where they kill us with the 3 cards they're holding.
I don't
If it's
think
like triple in the swing, I guess we die.
I think if it's
Uh,
triple in the swing we die, but like I don't really feel like I feel like more than likely it's like in the swing plus another card, maybe.
if you wanna give them a thinking, and I can kind of
Yeah,
let you know my thoughts of what the cycle might look like. So obviously we have the engulfing plus the banner of courage, and then that does not inherently have go again, but we do have our
right.
snaps to bail us out.
It's true.
So that could be the start of our offensive turn. So if we do not block at all, then we will have access to a E strike with a courage token on it, which we
Yeah,
can give go again.
it's pretty good.
We could choose draw a card on the and bottom like the war cry.
Yeah.
Then we would have illuminate, which is a very solid 0 for 4, plus a random card.
Hmm.
I think that line is potentially very very powerful.
Okay.
The If we block with a Bologna, we're basically locking ourselves out of like
Doing that full
a
line.
yeah, and
If anything, we could maybe throw Iron Song in front of this if we think we're gonna die, but like I don't know if that even saves us from anything, right? Because if it's like triple in the swing or something crazy like that, I don't
mhm,
think that really works. But I don't think we're gonna die here, is my opinion.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm in favor of keeping 5 cards,
Okay.
and maybe we'll top deck a Valiant Thrust with our Tunic up and just win the game.
All right, shift the tide of battle.
Okay, maybe they're
Just
gonna send like another
nourishing or
attack action.
something.
Okay,
Ooh,
there's another nourishing.
it's pretty good. Wait, don't they have
Yeah,
another nourishing? Oh
no,
no,
they
they
banished it.
banished it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
so this is definitely a little scary, but I think especially we were never going to be able to block this, so
yeah.
we're very happy that I think we just keep 5 cards
Okay.
and
Yeah.
um,
We're not dying, so I
I,
think we're probably fine.
yeah, I think we're rewarded for not blocking um, the saber because now we have 5 cards versus their 5 cards.
Alright, so we're gonna start with the engulfing charging the banneret.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
that
good.
sounds good.
I imagine they're probably going to just give us Kabuto on the first thing. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and not having Raiden here sucks, but it's not like they're turning off Illumina,
Yeah,
so
it's
they're
fair.
getting they're still getting 5 value out of their Kabuto. I mean, that's pretty darn good.
It's pretty
But
decent.
we were gonna bottom the Warcry anyway, so it's not like we're losing out on that.
Okay. And then we're doing E-Strike Go again, or we're doing E-Strike Buff, or what's the
We
plan?
have a courage token on the board,
Yeah.
so
Oh, so
regardless
it's
of what
already
we
buffed.
choose,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
And
we can
so I
do
I lean towards draw.
alright,
We
draw.
either get another like 0 for 3. Okay, that's actually not the best pull, but it is one of the best pulls because we do have Tunic up.
It's true. So how do we give that
Yep.
Go again, though?
So it reads that we've already charged
Oh,
because it
oh,
just
right,
cares
right.
about if you've charged this turn.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So we can Tunic, send 4 go again, and then close out with an Illuminate, and
They should have
that
to
is
give us at least 2 cards here, right?
yeah,
It's pretty decent.
that was that was a pretty nice top deck there. I think probably the only thing that would have been better would have been a Valiant Thrust.
Yeah, not bad. So I'm assuming they have just D-React here, and then maybe just gonna keep a 2-card hand or something. They don't have an agility, so I guess now they can swing for 3 potentially. It's maybe a little bit scary. All right, so 3 and 2 was the back after this. So this is 3 and a 5. It's a little
Okay.
rough.
So this is definitely tight. We're allowed to take 1 point of damage if we'd like.
So we can.
Um,
What I'm thinking is maybe we double block with armor here, and then the next thing is 5 threatening 6. We double block with 2 attack actions, and then we don't die. It's my thought.
yes, I think I think I would co-sign that.
Okay.
In terms of the cards that we're saving, we have a Celestial Cataclysm that is online,
Yeah.
and then we have a 0 for 3. So we are probably looking at blocking with our 1 cost
Yeah. Makes
and
sense.
sending a 2-card 10. So
It's definitely not
try to
bad.
tell me Bolton's F tier when you're
Yeah,
sending
yeah,
a
yeah.
2-card.
2-card 10. That's insane. Insane numbers.
That has to deserve at least D tier.
Yeah. 2-card 8's not even good enough, but 2-card 10, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
They do
Okay,
get
so
a
we're
pretty decent block here with the dynamos and stuff.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we're not. So we get to at least strip 1 more card out of hand, which is kind of nice. But if they keep holding onto a blue, then they can swing sabers again, which is a little annoying.
Right.
Might need
Okay.
something to bail us out here.
Right. Yeah, this is getting a little tight. Beacon of Victory may be what bails us out. We'll see. We have 1 soul and they have 1 life.
It's true. All right, they're not.
Okay.
Okay, they kept it red. That's actually really good for us, I think. Oh, I guess they had to, right?
Okay.
Because take it on the chin.
So
So, hmm.
I think the correct line here may surprise you.
Is it just
Curious what you
swing
think is.
Bolton play for 7?
Yeah, I think so. Our other options are send 1 card and then we do like a 2-card charge and arsenal. But
Which is bad.
I
We
think
can't give Gogan to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is looking like a bolting blade for 7.
As long as they don't have a 4 block D-React, we might actually be okay here, but this is
Yeah.
looking a little
No
dicey.
no dynamos.
No Dynamos is
Yes.
very nice. All right.
Okay. We're still in it.
We're still in it. As long as they don't crack gold, I think we're maybe okay. All right. We might be, it might be over. Ooh, yeah.
Okay.
So this is interesting.
So
So
they may not have a method of go again.
hopefully
Um,
they are drawing a
so
random
our
card off the top. I'm kind of feeling
okay.
like our line here is maybe just hope that we can keep 3 cards and then do a Lumina turn.
Yeah, I think blocking with 2 cards here may just be delaying the inevitable, and we just have to send it for the win.
Yeah. Oh, no
Okay,
Gogan. Okay, that's good. All
we're in
right.
the clear.
I think we just barely got this. So assuming we're charging V, we get
They have no
Gogans.
dynamo,
Yep.
so
Nope.
they could get away with just 1 card here and then two cards in front of Raiden. And then they would keep a card in hand, or wait, no. Sorry, that's not counting the extra Raiden swing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we are going to demand most, if not all, of their hand.
I'd imagine.
Draw swords. Wow.
Draw swords is a spicy one. I've seen that actually.
Yeah.
It's not, I think, the first time. All right.
All right, let's see how much they want to play around it.
They do want to play
Okay.
around it, which is
So
fine.
we may be seeing. I think they have 1 more shelter.
Let's see.
A
All right.
Arsenal. Well, if it was Arsenal, they would have played it. So I think we're in the clear.
Woo.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
A little bit of a
Well,
stressful one. That was
yeah. Welcome to playing Bolton.
they also have
There's
3.
very few.
It's a very interesting
Wow.
combo deck.
Their next hand was crazy.
It's insane
Wow.
hand. Three CNCs in a red. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Not seeing any of those CNCs was helpful for us.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, that was a pretty good one. Do you want to try to get another, or do you want to? I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends-
yeah, we can look for another. A 14 value per turn. I mean, that sounds like D tier to me. So a soul bond matchup would be cool. That would be like a matchup like Aurora, a matchup like like Fi. Yep,
Okay.
that can absolutely be a soul bond matchup.
All right.
So we can treat this like a pretty normal aggro matchup where you want to go second,
Okay. Sure.
because we are going to
Oh, we're
bring
playing
in
against
our.
Poppy. I think they're from
Oh,
the PDX Discord. Cool.
yeah. That sounds familiar.
All right. So
Yeah. So let's check out. Yeah, it looks like the headpiece did not work. So we're going to bring in Helm of Halo's Grace, just more blocking,
soul bound.
and then yep, soul bond versus this all looks great.
Okay. Let's check the.
Um, yeah. So it looks like we need to pick 2 more cards.
Do we want the Valiants
We
or
can
do we want the Take Flights?
we can probably do 2 of the take flights.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sure. And the
Um,
rest of it looks good.
yep.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
So a pretty unique thing about Boltyn going second in an aggro um, matchup is, even though it can feel a little shitty, using Warpath turn 0 can honestly be really strong to
Mhm.
just like get your soul generation started.
Interesting. So they're
That's
starting
right.
with an Ember Blade no go again here.
Is there anything? I don't think there's
No, I
anything
don't think
that
there's
Fi can
anything
do,
that
because
gives.
he could pitch into
Oh,
his. Oh,
okay. Maybe unintentional.
I'm like, okay. So the consideration whenever you're going second with Boltyn is, one, do you have like evaluating your defensive charge options to get a head start on charging. So in this case, okay,
I feel like we're
slaying for
just
0. So we could consider filtering, but yeah.
yeah, I'm
Um,
kind of doubtful there's anything super substantial that could happen off of Phoenix Flame.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so they don't even give us the opportunity to decide if we want to charge. Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. So we can consider, we can play a charge card, and we can arsenal a charge card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we can filter a little bit using Iron Song,
That's true.
if we wanted, just to get us closer to Luminas and such. Um,
I imagine they're
so
probably not, or they're probably just gonna let the Bolt of Courage hit, right?
yeah, but we don't really care about the card draw. Like, we're not going to be getting go again.
Okay. So you just want to filter like
So
Cataclysm with Iron Song and then send Bolt and then me Arsenal one of these two.
I think I lean towards sending the Express,
Okay.
just for the raw damage.
Okay.
If we're assuming they're not going to block. Oh,
Yeah. Let's maybe I guess filter the Iron Song here and then just send
yeah,
in Express
yeah,
charging Illuminate maybe.
yeah. That's where I'd lean. We
Okay.
get a really strong charge card set up in our arsenal that is pretty tough for them to block because they have so many 2 blocks
Makes sense.
as a draconic ninja. And having a bolt of courage in arsenal means we can consider aggressively using our warpath to block at some point during this turn.
Okay.
So we can look for an opportunity to do that.
Interesting. Lots of Phoenix Flames for 0 this turn.
Yeah, I guess they're just drawing them.
Okay. And then display loyalty. I assume we don't really care about this.
So the tricky thing about Soulbond Resolve, if we're going to use equipment to block, Soulbond Resolve checks specifically for the first
Oh,
time
okay.
you would be
Interesting.
dealt damage. So you are not able to take damage and then charge and then get the Soulbond
Do we
effect.
want to use it early?
So
Or
I kind of lean towards using Warpath pretty aggressively.
okay.
So we could use that. We can charge the yellow. We'll take 0 damage, and we can be set up with a Quicken.
Okay. I can see that.
And Quicken is going to be really powerful on our Bolt of Courage. We could also save the Bolt of Courage and use it as a Chain Ender. So really flexible card.
I think that makes
That
sense.
we yeah.
It's interesting that Soul Bond also works off of just it doesn't just trigger off itself, right? It triggers off your other charge
Right.
cards. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so
So at this
Blaze.
point,
I feel like
we can consider.
I feel like we could probably just send the hand, right? Like do engulfing, go again, and then finish on like Illuminate, or worst case scenario, we can like finish on Bolt or something else. I feel like there's not really a reason to block.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the cards we're holding.
Cool. Finishing a lava
Lava
burst.
Burst.
I think that's also probably fine.
Yeah.
Hand seems pretty good, and I don't think there's really any way they can give it go again without just like losing a bunch of value off the Dragon Scaler.
Mhm.
Cool. So are we starting with the Bolt or are we starting with the Engulfing?
So I think if we had blocked with one of these cards, we'd probably aim towards ending with the Bolt.
Okay.
But if we start with the Bolt and they block it out, then we can still play a perfectly reasonable hand and end with like an Illuminate, an Arsenaling, and Engulfing. So I
Okay.
think starting with the Bolt puts them in the most awkward position.
Right, because I mean, Fi runs a lot of attack actions generally, so
Yeah.
it seems like it's pretty difficult for them to block out.
hmm Yeah, if he has like a 3 block here, he can do like a 3 block plus
Plus,
his boots.
it makes sense.
Uh, but if he doesn't have that option, it's a lot more awkward. If his hand is all 2 blocks.
Makes sense. Oh,
Okay.
I'll take 2 cards very gladly.
Yeah, we're 2 reds. We're very happy with that.
All right, so are we doing Raiden here now? Just to like me
Uh,
disguise.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with the Raiden here.
Okay,
The the soul that we're gonna spend here is very likely gonna be refunded whenever the Illuminate hits.
sure. I think that makes sense to send the Illuminate over the Engulfing, just because this is a breakpoint.
Right. Yeah. And the engulfing helps our next turn make sure we don't break.
Yeah. What is like
The
oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say a like terms you'll hear very frequently, like when evaluating Bolton lines, is soul negative, neutral, or positive,
Yeah,
and um, it's pretty self-explanatory. Any chance you get, you want to stay either neutral or positive,
right.
and going negative is, it has to happen sometimes, but ideally you say positive the whole game.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Got Mounting Anger here. So I can give a 0 cost +1, which is not a huge
So
deal.
our hand is a little funky here because we don't have a way to guarantee engulfing having go again, except for the Lumina Lance.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little dicey,
so
but
yeah, we could look at like blocking with. We could also go E Strike Go again, charge engulfing. I think we want to give them at least 1 card to block. I lean towards the E Strike.
okay, gotcha. And then are we trying to use Halo this turn or no?
No, probably not.
Okay,
Um,
I'll see. I guess like there's no real point in blocking on this because like
yeah.
we get to see what the rest of. But if we want to give them a card here, I think we should be pretty safe to give them something else, especially after pulling Tunic.
hmm Yeah, like a pretty safe line we have here is like block with the E Strike, and then on their turn we can send the engulfing, charging the War Cry, and then maybe like we can force it to hit with the Lumina.
It's pretty good.
Um,
Okay, yeah,
so
I'll just give them the strike here.
yeah,
We could also like hold back in case we think they have snatch, but I don't. I guess we still have armor to cover that. I don't think that's necessarily a big deal.
yeah, Snatch would be annoying here,
A little bit.
but it's yeah,
It's annoying even if they like even if we do block here, it's or if we don't block here, it's still annoying because we have to get like
mhm,
card plus armor. Okay, seems like no snatch though. I don't know if Fi's even run snatch lately. I feel like they've
yeah,
been
I'm
leaning a lot more draconic.
yeah,
Okay, so let's I guess charge Bologna here
yeah. That leaves us with we can charge Bologna.
and
Um,
potentially end on bolts.
yeah, we can either end on Bolt or Arsenal it.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah. So Lumina Lance is technically we could choose all 3 modes here.
I think we
The
should
choosing
probably.
go
Or sorry, are we doing it?
choosing
Oh, go for it.
so we definitely want to do +2.
Yep.
Um, and draw on hit is a consideration as well. I say we just send it. We'll see what we get.
Okay, sure.
Unless draw. And then we don't want to choose go again on hit because we'd rather just have guaranteed go again from our hero ability.
Yeah, I
So
think
if
that
they have
makes sense.
if they have like wax on or something like that, that would kind of stuff us up.
Yep. All right, cool. We
Okay.
drew a light the way, which is not bad. Nice hits of yellow card was okay. So this will not have go again, right? Like
Yeah, light the way is one of those weird ones.
okay. So I guess
So
we're
I
just
think the
sending
line,
Raiden.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And then go again, I assume.
yeah.
Right.
So we don't IP ourselves.
Yeah, just making sure. Cool.
So light the way has a ton of value into these aggro matchups because they aren't very good at blocking you. And light the way can be really hard to block. So I think we actually send the Bolt of Courage here. We waste the card draw, but we set up the better extender in
I think
our
that makes
arsenal.
sense. It's interesting to think
And
of like the way as an extender.
Yeah, because I think of like I refer to it as an extender because like if your first attack as Boltyn doesn't do anything, then your turn just ends.
Right, right.
And
That makes
so
sense.
it's your first attack as well as being just an extender because your turn isn't going to do anything if if you don't have it.
Yeah. Kind of skip through that a little bit, but I assume we probably don't want to Arsenal the Banneret.
Yep.
Uh,
Good call. Good instincts.
cool. Rising
Okay,
Resentment. That one basically doesn't have an on hit, so I'm gonna let this pass and just see what they do with their hand.
sure. Yeah, so
Um,
the Helm of Halo's Grace plus Saving Grace is like one of our best defensive little combos.
pretty
So
sweet.
um, it lets you block really wide. So if we're like predicting like assault the wound or a lava burst,
Yeah.
if we like use our helm and charge the gallantry, I think is a pretty decent line here.
Okay.
Um,
I
and
think
then
I'll
that will enable
probably
Saving
just.
Grace to
I think I'll probably just do it now. That makes sense.
yeah.
Like, might as well just cover the breakpoint here. Although
Yeah.
notably, we're not getting our soulbound. Yeah.
Yeah, we do miss a point of value there, but we get the gallantry out there, pretty good.
No.
Now, light the way, we don't necessarily like, we aren't going to rely on that as much. Now that's pretty much just as good as any other charge card.
Makes sense. Yeah, I wonder if we maybe should have blocked in the first one. Probably. Just to
Yeah,
get that
it would
extra.
have gotten us an extra point of defensive value. So I think um, we can probably give them a card here, and we don't necessarily need this whole hand because it's not necessarily super synergistic. Like we have the Warcry but no Lumina, we have a Bolting Blade but no Via the Vanguard. So I would get rid of one of those cards. Um,
Okay.
the Bellona might be better in Arsenal if that's where we end up.
All right. Do we want to just block with bolting then? Probably.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
yeah.
So they're gonna let that go. Makes sense.
So if they send out like a Lava Burst or Assault the Wound here, we'll be really happy that we have the
Yeah.
Saving Grace.
All right. Activating by Phoenix Flame seems good. Get an extra point on Salt
Yep.
the Wound, but I don't think we really care since we still just have saving grace to block it out.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we
A
get a
Lumina or
nasty
something.
Saving Grace out here.
Yeah. Popping a fealty.
Guilty.
Or Dragonfire.
Okay.
All right, that
So we
covers
do
it.
yeah. So we do get full value out of the Saving Grace.
Pretty nice. See if they want to give Gogan. I guess they can always give Gogan afterwards as well. See what they got here.
So our turn isn't going to be crazy. It's going to be a pretty typical 2-card 6, most likely,
Yeah,
with a gaining 1 soul. So it's not going to be crazy good, but it still kind of keeps us at life parity.
makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so we get to have our little 2-card Boltyn hand, which is
So I lean towards
sorry.
actually playing the Bravado.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, let me. Nice.
Well, it's a little like it's not terribly different what you do because you have the quicken. You can play the Bravado. You can give it go again without spending soul, and you can swing Raiden, and that's great. And you can save the light the way as a charge attack on the next turn.
Okay.
Or you could send the light the way here and arsenal the Bravado, and the Bravado will always get +1, so that's also kind of guaranteed go again in a sense. Um,
Well, we don't
so
get
it's kind
the.
of just
We need a charge, right, so that we can turn on Raiden.
right, yeah. So our options are either we keep the light the way in arsenal for next turn, or we arsenal the Bravado. Um,
Okay.
the Bravado is probably a little bit more guaranteed
Yeah.
from
So
the go again.
let's maybe just banish the Bologna there.
Yeah, yeah. Bravado is like if they hadn't printed Beaming Bravado, I think
Bolton
uh,
wouldn't be here.
yeah, I think it would be indefensible that Boltyn is F tier. The card
Yeah.
is just
Too
far
good.
far too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's like it's like Bolton's only access now to a like offensive 2-card 7.
Yeah.
Like
Basically.
that did not exist before Beaming Bravado was printed. Red Beaming Bravado is like his only 2-card 7, like unconditional.
Yeah. Prowess of agility. Fascinating one.
Yeah, cool cool little Phi list we're playing versus here.
Very nice. Supposedly Phi is the hard counter to Florian right now. I don't know how much I believe that, but
Gotcha. Very cool.
all right. So we could theoretically use our Soulbound here. I feel like V's not incredible.
Yeah, whenever you're playing Soulbond, V can be a little bit like it's a tough card to just draw and play. Sometimes with you draw V with Tunic up, and it's like great, this is perfect. But
Yeah.
in Soulbond, it's a little harder to line up. So we can definitely block with Soulbond here. And with Soulbond, notably, we don't have to charge a yellow. We could charge any card, but
I feel like
V is
V's,
probably the best
yeah,
option.
yeah, for sure.
Ooh, actually,
Oh, actually, yeah. One awkward thing I realized is that we don't have a
yeah,
yellow to charge. So let's go ahead and
exactly.
charge Illuminate or Bravado. I guess we already have the
Um,
Bravado.
yeah, we could probably charge the Bravado. The
Okay,
Illuminate is a little bit better of a finisher
makes sense.
if we get the opportunity to play it, which we likely will.
Seems pretty good. Still haven't had the opportunity to pop their links yet, which is a little scary. Well, you have
Yeah.
Lumina, which is good.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. We might be staring down a decent Salt the Wound here. They might just decide to get value.
Yeah. Oh, there I had it.
Oh, are they able to give this go again with the new boots? It's only Draconic, right?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
yeah. Theoretically, they could have made it Draconic with the fealty, but I
Right.
guess they cannot do it now. So sure,
Yeah. That might have been a nasty line if they made this Draconic and then
get
double
another
Salt the
one.
Wound or something.
It's not bad. One thing I learned about this card is that apparently it doesn't count dagger hits because it's not an attack that's hitting. It's the dagger. Doesn't count it as attack if it's not on the chain, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let's start with the Bravado from Arsenal.
Yeah. Let's do it. So a kind of an interesting line you can take here is because we have +1 on this attack already, we don't necessarily need to play the beacon on it.
Okay,
We could give this go again and then send illuminate
okay.
and then force the illuminate on hit through with the beacon.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Um, and then we send the 2 Raidens.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're absolutely not going to block this. Like, I don't feel like they care about Illuminate.
Right. So we do have the option here where we do have quite a bit of soul, and life totals are pretty tight. So we could just pump some extra damage into this illuminate. We're going to get 1 soul back when it hits, and in order to use the lumina, we need just like 1 soul.
So you want to
So
pump
if
3,
we
maybe?
so if we pump this 3, we'll go down to 1 soul. Then we can go to give this go again and go to 0, and then the illuminate will hit. We'll go to 1, and then we can play the lumina and swing twice. So yeah, 3 is the Poppy is
Tricky.
appreciating the
Yeah.
the interesting order here.
Wonder if this is a. Oh, I guess we do get the. So yeah, it's not really risky because we're getting the Illuminate Soul back. I
Yeah,
was thinking if we
yeah,
go
I
down to
think
0, then it's a little dicey. But yeah, I think this makes sense.
right. Yeah, and I'll be honest. This particular line, I'm walking us through, I would say is fairly risky. Like if they block out both luminas, then we're at 0,
Yeah,
and that is kind of tricky. But if they block out both luminas, then
we're
they
chilling.
blocked out both luminas, and we can swing back.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
kind of like slightly worried about like a wax on there or something because I know like Syndra at least runs that card. I don't know if
right.
Fies do, but I
Yeah,
think I saw at least one very good player who's playing Fi who was on Voxon, but
I think I definitely, the fun but kind of annoying thing about Boltyn sometimes is like in order to like keep up value with what your opponents are doing sometimes
mhm,
like you kind of have to do stupid stuff.
yeah. Okay, this
So
hand is suspect.
yeah, so this is one of the hands where like take flight is kind of tricky,
Yeah,
where you're like kind of annoyed to have it. It pretty much requires a 4-card hand or tunic in order to enable take flight, but our 4-card hand here with take flight is pretty solid. um,
I guess the question is, are we gonna be able to live here though if we don't block something because they do have that link still looming around.
Yeah, I think we could take 3 here,
You think
and
so? I guess
yeah,
my
and then
concern is like, are we gonna get the soulbound value if we charge
so
here?
in order to get any offensive value out of this hand, we're gonna need to keep like, well, I guess we could use the soul bond here and charge spirit,
That was kind of my
and
idea. And then we have saving grace available to us,
yeah,
and then we can.
but we do need 3 cards in order to play take flight.
True. Uh,
So so we could just do, here's the line I'm thinking. We do soul bond and versus, we charge spirit, and then if they're gonna kill us, we play the saving grace. If they're not gonna kill us, we keep 3 cards and
okay,
try to kill them.
I can see that. That makes sense. So we charge.
And then
We're
this,
still charging this though.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And that will float the damage prevention, which may be really important for,
Break the
I guess,
goals.
that
Yeah.
not the one I would have expected, but sure.
Interesting. All right, because this is draconic now, because the brand. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. So we might need to give up another card here, depending on what they get. I'm assuming they're just
Yeah.
gonna get like a lava burst or something to mess this up a little bit. It's weird.
Very interesting.
It's weird how like far we've gotten into our deck.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I don't normally get to halfway through my deck on like turn 6, but
Right.
okay, Searing Interblade coming in for 5. So they have Assault, which is 5 plus. They can make this Draconic, which would give it +2. So I feel like we do need to Saving Grace this.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Little bit unfortunate, but like kind of okay.
Yeah, we're able to keep. See how much damage we take here. We're gonna hit once, and then the salt. Ooh,
So we could theoretically just block out here.
yeah. I
Matrix.
think that's
Yeah.
so. An interesting thing we can aim for here is killing them with Warcry of Bologna. If we draw one, because we have 2 soul, they're at 1, and we could definitely. Oh, whoa,
Interesting.
that was cool.
Oh, so they
Are
can
we dead?
attack. I think we might be close to dead. I'm just gonna block, but I think
Yeah, sure.
we're taking +1 there. Oh, we are dead.
Wow,
Damn.
that was so cool.
It's a pretty cool turn. They attack with
I did not.
Everblade twice. Or is that just
Yeah, yeah,
once?
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
It was a double. It was double Emberblade. Wow, that
GG's.
was really cool. That was a
Yeah,
cool
that was
finish.
pretty sick. All right, well, GG's
Okay.
Poppy. Proving that Boltyn is F tier. No, I'm kidding. But
Yeah. If Boltyn can't be Fi, I mean, I can't argue that.
it's true.
But no, good game, really cool.
Yeah.
I think a decent, a decent way to showcase Soul Bond. We did miss a point of value off Soul Bond. That's
Maybe. But
earlier in the game.
I don't know how
But
much that matters though, because like
yeah,
we still have to block out. I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But getting a kill there with Warcry of Bologna would have been cool if we could have
Oh
maintained a
yeah.
little bit more health. But
So how do
oh
you
well.
kill with it? Hold on, let me read that card one more time. Warcry Blonde. Discard this banish X card from your soul. The next time target weapon deals X or less damage this turn. Oh, so you do it on their weapon. Interesting.
Yeah. So if they're at 1 and they Emberblade us for 3, if I put like a 2 block in front of it, and
That's
just
pretty
take
cool.
1, then I could use Bologna, banish 1 card, take 1 damage, deal 1 damage.
That's pretty sick. I don't think I've ever seen that happen to anyone before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Well, great, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
fun game. Well, I think last comments on Boltyn.
Sure.
I think I think the hero is he's gotten a lot of support, and
He just needs
wait.
1 or 2 more armory decks, and he's great.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we need. I think I think they've done a decent job of getting Boltyn to a, like, in a vacuum, as a far better deck than it used to be.
Yeah.
And now he's just kind of at the whim of the meta. He's the defensive decks are getting even better at being defensive, and the disruptive decks are getting even better at being disruptive.
Yeah.
And Boltyn is
Struggles into both
not.
disruption and defense, right? Basically.
Yeah, like the what defensive decks were capable of like 2 years ago, Boltyn was able to do, but what they're able to do, like in 2025,
Right.
Boltyn quite isn't able to keep up with that anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for a year from now when you're doing
Boltyn
S tier
F2.
Sundays. And yeah, S tier Sundays and Boltyn will be just every video,
Oh yeah.
every S tier Sunday is just Boltyn. Thanks for having me on the channel. Thanks for letting me walk you through some Boltyn games. Um,
Yeah.
I
It's fun time.
I don't yeah. Well, I don't know if I've been able to convince you to get him out of the F tier, but
I'll give him a
at
D
least
minus.
okay, at least we got one win versus the deck I would say we're not necessarily favored into. And then we lost versus the deck I would say we're kind of favored into. So it
Evens
evens
out.
out.
Evens out. For sure. I mean, he's at least fun though. Like I don't think he's like super linear. Like I feel like they're managing soul is kind of like an interesting mechanic, and then like
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like he's got like an interesting kind of series of play. Like I feel like there are play lines that you saw that I was not able to initially see. So I don't know. Maybe that bodes well for how interesting Boltyn is, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever got into this point with Zen, but like I feel like I've played so much Boltyn at this point where I not necessarily I'm finding the best line, but I'm finding a line like in like the first 2 seconds that I look at my hand. I'm like, okay, here's the line.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as I don't know if you'd consider yourself like a specialist in the way that people use that term in Fab,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's an easy pit to fall into
Yep.
whenever you play one hero for so long, is like thinking you know the best line right off the bat and challenging yourself to find the alternative line that you've never done before, or that like you haven't like practiced or whatever and found until you actually try it. So yeah, the I I feel like I'm kind of at that point with Boltyn, and I'm hopeful that you know things will get mixed up with him for a little bit, and he'll I loved playing him during the heavy hitters meta. That was by far the strongest Boltyn has ever been, and so I hope he can reach that place of relevancy again, and they don't release like MST Part 2 that
Yeah. That would probably
kind of
be
ruins
the
it.
end of Boltyn for at least another
Yeah,
year or two.
yeah. Well, again, thanks for having me on the channel.
Yeah,
It's
for
been a
sure.
great
I mean,
time.
it's been a great time. And if you have any Boltyn tips or sorry, if you have any Boltyn questions for our resident expert, Spencer, feel free to drop them in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.